Today, we'll be exploring how business is shifting and how to get the most value from your hybrid IT investments. Because despite the undoubted promise of the cloud, challenges around implementation and execution remain. This is not a webinar. This is an interactive virtual event. To help focus discussion, we have created a fictional furniture firm called Myfair to highlight some of the very real challenges that I'm sure that many of you are facing at your very real organisations.
Faced with countless legacy apps with green screen displays, a mainframe dating back to the 1980s, and an in-house data centre, Cutlass felt that this was the time for radical rather than incremental change. Her vision was to adopt a cloud-first strategy and transition quickly to a new ERP system. She was certain this approach would convince an inherently cautious board.
Let's say hello to John Harris, Nicola Holderness, Phil Le-Brun and Sanjeev Kamboj.
Over 90% of the issues we see in organisations are still down to people, organisation and culture. Organisations will embrace the cloud, use that as a data platform. Folks struggle to understand how to use the data. How do I make predictions? How do I increase my data literacy? How do I unsilo my data from systems across my organisation? And then how do I turn my insights into action?
We'll take a look at what our audience was telling us about the criticality of cloud.
I have seen some amazing drives into cloud, transformation that I never thought would ever happen. And I've also seen the struggles that everybody have gone through as well.
The number of green screens that I still see in industry today is incredible. But these are systems that are relatively low cost. They do what they're meant to do.
You start to build up structured transformation pathways. We've been tackling, for example, with AWS, the complex, hard to do workloads so that we don't leave anything behind. We have a pathway to the future.
What they need to seek for this particular organisation is a wholesale transformation. It involves every single person and it doesn't happen overnight. Well, that vision needs to be so tight and so shared by everybody in order for it to succeed. If they don't do that and set the foundations right up front, all of the savings, the agility and everything else sort of go out of the window.
50% of transformations fail at step number one, which is, do all of the senior leaders agree to what's happening? Are they on board? Are they aligned around the same metrics? If you had them all individually write down on a post-it what digital transformation meant, would you get the same answer? You find everyone's got something different in their head and they over-index on the digital rather than the transformation.
Arguments that I hear a lot is that there is too much choice, and actually the complexity of the environment is what is holding people back.
The richness in offerings from our hyperscaler partners, richness in offerings from the open source systems community, and that sort of can look at, wow, there's just so much choice out there, but they're all trying to formulate an objective. I think it's really important to have your strategy, your plan, my pathways, and pick the appropriate partners, pick the appropriate technologies, and pick the appropriate strategies, because each migration will have a slightly different nuance. And then you can pick the kinds of things that, are suitable for your business with your skill set for what you're trying to achieve.
I either have a business idea that I want to achieve or a goal or a target that I want to achieve, and therefore this is something that can get me there. Alternatively, there's also new ways of thinking and new ways of working that there could be an opportunity for me to rethink the way I do business or the business that I'm in.
We're going to use data to understand why our supply chain is only running at 50% capacity. You optimize, you get that to 70%, you can do more. You can then use the data to start unpicking the marketing information. You've got more capacity so you can drive through and do more. And then the final thought, I'd also be saying, data will be at the heart of sustainability as well. And look, Mr. CEO, I know that you really want to put a wind turbine on the roof and tell everyone it's great. That's going to make this much difference.
How do I make sure sustainability is striped across all of this? So I'm not just doing things for the sake of doing things. I know precisely when something goes to the other side, it's operationally managed. I'm effectively getting the best, both discount structures, the funding models of which are really important, so I can sort of fast track some of these migrations. That is all been taken care of.
It is about really bringing it alive, because someone is going to have to put their hand in a very deep pocket at some point and invest in that. So they've really got to understand what the outcome and the benefit is.
It's harder to fail in the public eye because someone will still say, oh, that's £100,000 of taxpayers' money and you wasted it and it wasn't successful. So the context in which that's reported is so much more challenging. than the private sector, where you say, look, up front, this was an innovation experiment. You have to be prepared to fail to learn.
It's the way things are funded and the length of time it takes to approve funding and the level of scrutiny involved. I think that's the big difference between private and public sector.
Know where you want to get to, be bold in your thinking, but break this addiction to prediction. These are things which the company have never done in this example before, so don't start with a Gantt chart.
Pay-as-you-go, the discounting structures, the amortization of licensing, all of this is new. And it will keep evolving as well as more and more services start to come online. You're in the realms of emergent technology, right? Some of it is well-trodden, but we are literally going through this cycle, and we will keep going through this cycle for a good, next at least 10 years, I would say. And we're trying to get all of this legacy infrastructure over into modern platform technologies.
Thank you to all of our speakers, and of course, thank you to you, our audience, for all of your time and attention here today, as well as for all of your comments and questions. It's been an absolute pleasure hosting you here. I hope you enjoyed it. Because while the scenario in Myfair, of course, itself might be fictitious, many of the challenges those executives face are very real. It's been great hearing how you folks are exploring those at your respective organisations. Until next time, stay safe. Best of luck with whatever you're working on in 2022. We look forward to seeing you all again at the next event. Goodbye.